Hello ladies and gentlemen, Panzer here, and today we're taking a look at a different build for Crossout at the moment. And this one is one that I'm not actually really going to be showing the building of because I've already built it. This one actually required fairly extensive testing to make sure that it actually works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build, I'm going to break down the build so you can kind of see what's going on here. So let's jump into build mode here and have a look what's going on. Now, aside from all the additional extras, what you're essentially seeing here is a Wyvern cabin, or a Wyvern cabin. And that's the one that you can get from the Nomads, I believe. That's the one you can get from them. Now, this is a 500 power score cabin, and it does have 150 points of structure. But what's important about it is that it has 10 points of energy. That's the highest amount of energy you can get short of a truck cabin, which has 11 points. So that's one thing that's really good about this one. It has also got decent acceleration and speed. It's not buggy levels of speed, and it's kind of on par with the pickup actually, so you can get some fairly maneuverable builds with this. I did have an issue with the turning circle of this, but that has been corrected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this down now. So this is just a simple wide oblique slope here, and the plane nose is just there for decoration, really. It adds a little bit of structure to it, but not much. The main point of this, though, are the Wasp launchers. These are things that I've just recently got, and I've actually been quite happy with them so far. So the Wasp launchers are actually mounted like so. If I remove the plane nose, you can actually see it. There are two small Avia panels here, and the reason I put those in there, I could actually use the long ones for these, but I don't know if I've got the space for that. But either way, these are here so that the Wasp launchers can actually be mounted sideways. Now, you can actually, on this build, mount it this way, but the reason I haven't done that is so I can put the plane nose on there, like so. Let me just, I might have to move that bumper. And it's the same deal over here, mainly because the tubes are actually on the side there, and that makes it a little bit tricky to get any form of symmetry out of it. So if I put the plane nose back on, you can actually see that they fire from a recessed point in the cabin. The reason you want to do that is because they have very low hit points. They're very powerful, but they have very low hit points. So if you have them, for example, if I was to mount this on the side here, this would actually get destroyed very, very quickly. So having it mounted somewhat recessed within the body actually helps it survive just that little bit longer, and of course the bumper stays a little bit clear of that as well. There are some issues with this though. It doesn't allow you to be particularly accurate with the rockets, but then these aren't actually particularly accurate weapons anyway. Now, so these launchers use 4 points of energy, and I put a medium machine gun on here which uses 3 points. So you might be thinking that's 8, and that's a total of 8 for the rockets alone and another 3. So that means I have 11 points of energy. That's correct, and that's because, if I remove that there, I've actually put a light generator on here. And it's right next to the fuel tank, but then again, you know, if I get hit in the rear, I'm pretty much dead anyway. So that's one thing that I've actually done. Now I have color this yellow because I'm thinking of naming it the Bumblebee, which I think is a very suitable name for what it is. But there's another reason to color everything yellow as well, as it makes parts that are recessed a lot harder to see. If I move the camera over here, just very quickly, you can actually see from this angle, you can see that big machine gun on top, but it's very hard to see if there's actually anything mounted under the wings there, especially if you're looking from the camera angle that the game normally plays at, which is around here. It's a lot harder to actually notice that there are actually Wasp launchers on the actual vehicle. So you might not appear as big a threat to a lot of other players. And that will become an even bigger deal if you actually color all of this in black, but unfortunately I don't have black paint. So that means if you're pointing directly at an enemy, they'll see the Wasp launchers just as they're about to be hit by them, and that's something that happens very, very often. So if we just go into test drive here, you can actually see what this is capable of. So you can see that the crosshairs are kind of all over the place, but when I fire them straight ahead, what you can actually see is they seem to hit around the same area. So I can actually hit this over here with a certain degree of accuracy, but you do need to be pointing almost directly at the enemy in order to really get anything out of it. which is a bit of a shame. Mainly because the launchers are actually mounted sideways. The tubes are actually in a bit of an awkward position, so they don't exactly fire where you think they will. But it does make this weapon particularly useful against groups, and at closer range, such as like this, it really doesn't matter at all. So that's the sort of thing we're dealing with here. It gives it a little bit more punch, and this medium machine gun, which has almost enough clearance to fire over the canopy there, will allow us to do a decent amount of damage as we're getting away, or to help add in the extra points of damage to secure a kill. Now, having a four-wheel steering system allows us to have a decent turning circle. What I actually found was that originally I had these wheels mounted directly on the lightweight frame in the middle there, but that actually led to some complications. One being that the Wasp launchers actually obscure the mounting point for the wheels, so they had to be mounted further back, and doing that meant that we had a very large turning circle. So by adding these extra frames on here, what we end up with is a vehicle with a slightly wider stance at the front, but it's actually a lot more stable. In fact, I've gone off cliffs and had a very low chance of actually rolling over. So it's more of a T-shaped pattern. You can actually see that it's wider at the front, and that allows it to be more stable, but it also gives us that turning circle that we actually need. Now, all these spikes at the front, while they're decent for ramming damage, this isn't exactly a ramming vehicle, but we are going to be close enough that we might be able to actually use them. So that's why I've included them there anyway. The rear is probably the weakest part of the vehicle, and we can actually armor that up slightly, but doing so will probably push us well over 4,000 if we try to keep doing that anymore. So at 3,625 power score, this is actually a pretty potent vehicle if used correctly. And what I'm going to do now is show you how not to use it. Alrighty, so first match, and it's on bridge, and nothing really against this map, but this isn't particularly the best map for this type of vehicle. Mainly because a lot of things are quite long range until you can close the distance, and that means crossing the bridge or going through the water, both particularly hazardous options for a vehicle of this type. I'm actually just coming out here just to see if I can spot anybody and coming back in, and it's really just a place for snipers. And these rocket launchers do not have a very long range, as I will demonstrate right here. So let's say I want to hit somebody across the bridge. In order to do that, I actually have to angle these quite far up, and it doesn't really want to let me do that. So even just to hit somebody over there, I would actually have to aim roughly there. And you can see those were some decent splash damage, but nothing direct. So that is a different sort of challenge for this type of vehicle, because it is really a sort of mid-range to short-range kind of vehicle, and this map definitely doesn't give us that option. Right, so let's try and get some shots in on this guy here, and we've been nudged out of the way. That's not good for us at all. Chase him down, finish him with the machine gun, I think. Yeah, well, we got the assist for that, and I'm okay with that. Now we're being chased down by this guy over here. I think he's got shotguns on him, I can't be sure. But he wasn't shooting at me. I think he was shooting at somebody else. Now, using the Wasp launchers is actually really forgiving, because you can really put some shots in there where it really counts, and it really has a very fast reload, as you can just see here right there with the light beeping sound. It really is very, very fast to reload. And of course, the very large splash damage, it's actually, as far as I can tell, the splash damage is actually bigger than most cannons even, but at the cost of slightly lower damage per hit. So be aware that splash damage will probably injure you as well, so stay well clear of that. And that was a very, very fast match. And you can see this nice new victory screen, and the reward screen has been added in the latest patch. So one of the many changes that we have seen recently. Alright, so definitely a much better map for this type of vehicle. The power plant map gives you a lot of sneaky opportunities to get some very close range sort of kills, which is definitely what we're looking for right here. Just going to try and get through on the water here. Popping out. I don't see anybody yet, so we're going to drop back up here again. And we have the radio, so we can actually see on the map where enemies might be, if our teammates have spotted them, but it doesn't look like anybody's seen anyone yet. I don't really want to be the first. But there's a lot of fighting going on in the middle, so we might actually be able to sneak up on somebody. Nothing over there. They might actually all be at the train yard. So we could sneak around them and try to get somebody in the side, maybe. Although there is somebody on our base, so being one of the most mobile vehicles, it probably makes sense for me to go back. Of course, one of the perks of having a maneuverable vehicle is that you can really make these sorts of decisions on the fly without having too many consequences. One of the problems I actually had with a tracked vehicle when I first started is really just having to decide whether I was going to... Oh, Jesus. Whether I was going to stay in one place or move on. But that was definitely not something I should have attempted on my own, for sure. But we definitely did a lot of damage to that big truck there, so you can see the amount of damage you can do if you can get a shot on the cabin with 4 rockets. Alright, so matches have been flying past fairly quickly. In fact, I don't even think I need to cut any of that because it's just so damn quick. And that's one of the things about these 3,000 point matches, is that everyone gets destroyed so quickly. You rarely see a lot of builds that are overly heavy and tanky just because of how much mobility you really need in these sort of public group matches. Alright, so coming up on the assault map here, and I think we're going to close in on the objective pretty quickly. Really want to go in there on my own, though. Oh, got some splash damage, I think, but nothing to write home about, unfortunately. And let's see if we can get a shot in on him. Oh, that was close. That was very, very close. Oh, and yeah, one of the disadvantages of having really exposed wheels, unfortunately, is that does tend to happen. You do end up having to use your real wheels to steer. So what we're going to do here is try and sneak on by. Hopefully we don't get spotted going in. So we try to wriggle our way in. Probably have to do it backwards. And go for the cap, essentially. Gonna use the rockets to kind of cover us from the back there. Fire a couple of rockets off in that way. Oh, one of them got a hit. That's what we like to see. And see if we can get another shot in. Don't think we can. No, that's way off. A very wide shot there. But yeah, they reload so fantastically quick that if you really need to, you really can just use them in a pinch. Something that the cannons really couldn't do. Once you found yourself getting swarmed, it was that was pretty much it. But these do have a much more limited firing arc than the cannons do, unfortunately, so you are going to have to bear that in mind if you are going for Wasp launches. But yes, I'm afraid that's all we have time for today, and this is just a very quick look at this particular build. I'm enjoying it so far, but it is a very tricky build to play with. And I would actually encourage people to try out all the different builds, because you never know what might just work for you. Now, I have experimented using machine guns only for this, and that makes it much more viable for PvE. So if that's something you want to try the Wyvern Cabin and a machine gun build, and that might actually work a lot better, because rockets, as nice as they are, the limited ammo is going to screw you over in PvE matches. So, you don't want to be caught out without your strongest weapons available, so go with machine guns, and you'll never run out of ammo again. But yes, that is all we have time for. If you have any questions, don't forget to leave them down in the comments below, and let me know what builds have you tried, and what you think of the game so far, and how you're getting along. And if you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you are new to the channel. My name is Panzer, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.